The first thing and the most proudest thing I've done since becoming a minister and being part of was when we, together with the Department of Defense and Military Veterans, together with the office staff, I am so fortunate that I've inherited the best staff you can get. Usually you'll just hear people talk a lot of stuff about people, but these people working at DSEC, I can tell you without a doubt, I don't even want to change one of them because they are diligent, they are so happy, I allow them to do their work, and we are working very nicely together. These people is the reason why I've done my proudest thing, which is number one, we have brought back the remains of our heroes. Duma Nokwe, Bezel February, Nemamu Posho, Tot Machikitsa, and all of them. They were in exile and they died in exile and they were buried in exile. We managed as a team, not as McKenzie or as Mabe, as a team, interdepartmental. My team, I must say, worked day and night, flew between Zambia. Mr. Ndima and them, they worked to get that. So I want to say that's the first thing and the most proudest thing I've been involved in. The first crisis I got was when we started, which I'm going to talk about later, when we started talking to UFC and F1 and motorsport, FIA, we started just engagements. I got a media inquiry. That was my first crisis, was that Mr. McKenzie, 12 countries are stuck for the FIBA basketball tournament in South Africa. The Under-18 African Basketball Championship is in South Africa, and we are now being told it's being cancelled. I said, no, there's nothing being cancelled. I went back, I called SASCO, I called the Basketball Association, I called everybody to an urgent meeting within an hour after that call. And what I heard in that meeting was the worst news. They applied to host this tournament in South Africa. They didn't have sponsors, they didn't pay the venue, they didn't pay the hotel, didn't pay for the buses, they paid for nothing. When I asked them, what you going to do? They're like, nothing. We must cancel. I said, excuse me, nothing. It can't be. This will be on South Africa's record. I called the team, I called the ADG, I called the whole team. We then made sure, I called the president of FIBA in Mozambique, myself. Luckily, I have met him in at the Olympics. And he said something I'll never forget. He was very angry when I called him, but he cooled off. He says, no, I said, please give us a last chance, we'll fix it. He says, I believe you because you're a good man. I said, why do you say I'm a good man? He says, you walked into the room, you walked past a lot of people, but you came straight to me in Paris and you greeted me. What he didn't know was everybody was speaking French. And I look at the black guy in the corner, I thought that is my guy. And I can tell you, the people literally didn't sleep. And we managed to host the basketball FIBA tournament under 18. And we saved South Africa from headlines. That was my first crisis. The second crisis I experienced was the National School of the Arts was about to close down. They couldn't pay salaries. They ran out of money. I was then told, sometimes people will tell you stuff. They said, Minister, you can't intervene because it doesn't fall under you. I said, this is the GNU. We do things differently. I'm going to intervene. I saw there's arts. The arts is calling my name. I went to the school. I saw they turn around. They have no turnaround strategy. But these people are good people that ran into money. They couldn't even pay the salaries. I immediately, with the powers vested in me as the minister, told the ADG, go through the processes. Let's save the jobs. Let's save the teachers not from leaving. We then gave the school 2 million rands so that they can pay salaries and they can pay water and lights. But when I walked out, I saw the hostels where the girls are staying. I wouldn't even let my dog sleep. in those places. I then went back and I said to them, we have to fix the hostels. Because we've got the infrastructure grant. As I'm speaking to you, the hostels are being fixed and the girls are going to play in a proper place. The electricity problem we're also sorting out with the city of Johannesburg. The third crisis I got was, as you can see, I was just dealing with crises. The first, I said, I don't drink alcohol. Kenny Kunene, the deputy president of PE, says, every time I call you, you've got a crisis. You must just drink whiskey and then relax. So I'm very near getting that whiskey, DP. The third crisis we got was the under-20, the youth championship in Peru. There was no money for the people to go to for the athletes to go to Peru. There was no money. They needed a 4 million rands to go to Peru. I tell you, I pick up the phone, I called a few corporates, and you know, SuperSport was the first one that said we will help, and SuperSport helped. I called the ADG said we must help, the deputy minister said no, we have to help. And we came together with SuperSport and the deputy minister, and I can tell you, true story, 10 minutes before they closed the flight, we paid. 10 minutes before they closed the flight. Now, if we didn't pay, let me tell you the repercussions of that. None of them would have gone to Peru. Today, the whole world knows we have the fastest under 20 100-meter athlete, the fastest under 20 200-meter athlete. We got gold medals, we got different medals, all because of the intervention of myself and the deputy minister. So, you know, the president will always speak about job creation. I was told at the office that some people said, Minister, we just come to say bye-bye because next week our contract is finishing. I said, bye-bye, where are you going? Now we're just working on contract. Do you have another job? No, I don't have another job, Minister, but we enjoyed working with you. I called the ADG, I said, how many are they? She said, there are 66. I said, can we meet tonight? I remember, she's like, Minister, it's 9 p.m. I said, yeah, let's meet at 11 p.m. at the office. She said, I'm going to enjoy making this call to the senior management. And when I got there, 11 o'clock, they were there. We sat from 11 until 2 a.m. trying to redirect and reprioritize funds so we can save the job of 66 people, because that's the priority of the GNU. I can stand before you today and say that we have managed to save a year until we get them permanent, but they've got a job until March 2025, but before March 2025, we shall meet again at 11 o'clock to make a plan. So you can't create jobs if you can't save jobs. So we've already saved 66 jobs in our department. Then this one is very hard so. Artists in this country, I want to make it clear, I'm not a minister of condolences. I'm not a minister of funerals. I was told you didn't come to the funeral of Mapaputsi, but they omitted to say, I gave money for the funeral of Mapaputsi. But it can't be. We must be honest about this. It's not easy to say it, but I'm going to say it. We are not here to bury artists. Artists need to live a life so good that they manage that they can bury themselves. It's insulting for a person who didn't have bread, but you put them in a casket of 50,000 rands. It's not right. So we should not fight so that artists should be buried. We should fight for artists to live right. Because of my corporate history, I looked at why is it that our artists are poor? And I found 3 things. Number 1, artists are poor because they get exploited by the record labels. Number 2, artists are poor because the people representing artists can't even account for the money that we give them. Now, if you can't account for the money that we give you, how are you going to account to the people that you represent? If the Mureki, you can't give him the papers he wants. So there's a problem. We then called all of the artists. But we realized that artists sometimes are good artists, but they may be, and creators, they're not good business people. You can't be everything in life. I'm a good business person, but I'm not a good artist. And sometimes they represent themselves in contracts and they get exploited. I then called a group of lawyers of the arts. I said, we are going to pay you as the government. You must look through every new contract every artist is going to sign in this country, so that you must make sure that artists don't get exploited. And artists will not pay for that service. The department will pay for that service. We then called the Boss Barat. In that Boss Barat that we called, we had frank discussions. We built up different sectors. And those sectors, we're going to pay for their officers. We're going to give them board fees. We are going to make sure that the sectors represent the artists. You can't have one person representing writers, filmmakers, crafters, choir music. Every sector should be represented by sectorial people that understand the problem. So we have a Boss Barat, and there are 72 sectors and subsector organizations, which I want to make clear, they will be getting money from us so that they can run and agitate for the better behavior from corporates, from government, and make sure artists get truly represented. And we cannot, as government, say we care about artists, but we don't want to recognize them as workers. I'm busy fighting so that artists, together with Minister Tao, so artists can be known as, they can be recognized as workers. The Copyright Amendment Bill, they want the president to sign it. But I went to go read it. I said, the president must not sign this thing in my mind. And I spoke to them. Because how do you sign something that says, and I speak from experience because I'm a writer. All the books I wrote, I own the copyright to it. If you want to use one sentence there, you're going to pay me. If you want to use a comma, you're going to pay me. And we are in big discussions with one of the biggest movie houses abroad. And we are negotiating on price because they talk to me, because I owe my work. In the Copyright Amendment Bill, there's a line that says free use. You can't have that, fair use. How do you have fair use? You don't go to McDonald's and say a burger is 80 rands, but I've got 40 rands, give me a burger because of fair use. So why must artists' music be used? So once we fix those little things, we will come back and we will sign it. And we will make sure that when you die, you look at Shaka Zulu, Henry Tkele, one of the best actors this country has ever produced. Shaka Zulu come from when we were young. Till today, they still play Shaka, but he gets nothing. Artists will be paid to be on a show. I remember there's this show called, there was what do you call it, where they make fun of people. What was it called? No, they make fun where Kenny Kunene was on. It was called The Roast. When they came for the roast to Kenny Kunene, they gave him back and they said, are you mad? Kenny said, this is what I want. They said, we can never pay you that because the other artists, if they see we pay you this much, they will also demand that from us. He says, I'm not going. After a year, they came back to him. They're like, all right, I'm paying you this amount. He says, no, a year passed. I must put more. And they paid him the money. So I just want to say that's what we want to do. And then, today I want to tell you, I want to thank the SABC and SuperSport, MultiChoice. I want to thank them openly. Because the most important rugby game, I went to them. We fought. I think they were very irritated with me. I fought so that every South African can watch that rugby game. But I didn't only fight. I learned from SABC. I learned from SuperSport. I learned from them. And what I learned from them is that it is our responsibility of government to make sure that our people get to watch these games. We can't put it on them. We must put it on us. So what I've done, they were telling me all those things. I said, yeah, we will talk. Let's just show this one on Saturday, and I'll go back. And today I want us to give SABC and SuperSport a hand, because SuperSport graciously said, let South Africa watch the game. And we did watch the game. And I can assure you that we are doing our work in cabinet to make sure we make sport accessible. And we pay what companies demand for their product. So that is something that is ongoing. I also want to say, you know, for me, I'm going to make you one example while I talk about SuperSport. We've got something big, and you must encourage people to apply. We've joined forces with SuperSport, Athletics South Africa, South African School Athletics and Department of Basic Education in launching the Track Plus Field School Athletics Series, starting in January next year. The School Athletics Series is open to all high schools throughout the country. The objective will be to crown the top athletics high schools in the country. Both boys and girls at under 15, 16, and 17 levels will participate. We want to go and find our athletes. And we have now joined forces with a corporate company that will help us. So the children must now get re-enter sports. And it's not just talk. We have signed an agreement with the Department of Basic Education. Sport, arts and culture must get back to our school. Most of us here that's over the age of 40. Don't need to put up your hand. Most of us here, you have had school sport. I was a top athlete myself, believe it or not. And I was discovered at a school. So we've got the DSTV School Netball Challenge. We've got all these exciting things to get our children away from the street. I always say a kid in sport is a kid out of court. That is our motto. You know, that's going to be the Let's Play Centers of Excellence. We are back. We're going to change the face of sport in this country. But we want to start with the children. That's why we have the MOU. In our department, we've put together 69 million, which is going to buy equipment for rural school children, for poor schools. It can't be that it's only the private schools that has all the sporting equipment. None of the black people sitting here, or the colored people, or the Indian people for that matter, had pole vaulting at his school. None of you. But pole vaulting is an Olympic sport. There's a new Olympic sport called wall climbing. I see the private schools now have wall climbing. Our children in the less fortunate schools don't have that. It's my job as the Minister of Sport not to complain, but to make sure, I make sure that what is in the private schools is in the schools of our children that is not so privileged. And we should not bemoan the fact that the private schools have it. We must learn from them. And we must emulate what they are doing. So much in South Africa, people like to criticize people that they should learn from. As the minister, Walaza got a silver medal at the Olympics, he got 2 gold medals because Kuro was looking after his career. We need to go to Kuro and say, what you did with Walaza, do it for the child in Mitchell's Plain, for the child in Guguletu, for the child in Protea Glen. That's what we want to do. So the MOU will never gather dust. Under my leadership, we are going to bring expression to what we've agreed upon. And if you don't believe me, the ambassador of France, I want to quote him, so he can say, no, I'm not telling the truth. When I was a minister, he sent me a text message. He's like, Minister, we've been trying to sign the MOU. Minister, can you help? I said, can we meet tomorrow morning and sign? He says, oh, I'm out of the country. I said, so you are the problem. And after a month, after changing some new things I changed there, we signed. And he stood up at a press conference. He said, I must tell you, this ministry is the fastest ministry I've ever worked with. These are action men. I said, didn't hear you. Repeat that again. So that is what we're going to do with the same thing. Then, you know, government, we must listen to people. And the GNU is that type of a government. I was at Fame Week, I met 3 little girls. My protectors told me, you have to leave, it's becoming too dangerous. Everybody's grabbing me and want a picture. And when they were pulling me out, this girl is pulling my jacket. And I'm like thinking, I'm not going to leave you. I said, how can I help you? She's like, 30 seconds. And I said, let him come, let him come. The 3 ladies came. They spoke, all 3 of them spoke at one time. And all I could hear is that our movie house in Kalicha is closed because we don't have a screen that's working. We don't have proper speakers. Our computers are old. I said, I will be there within a week. When I turned around and said, why? We'll never see him again. And they saw me. And I went to go look at the screen. It wasn't working properly. I went to look at the speakers. I went to the library. When I saw the computers, I realized those were the computers that we used to steal before I went to jail. That's how old those computers were. I can tell you today, myself and the deputy minister, on Monday first, on Monday, we took them the money. They are putting a new screen, new speakers, and new computers in that school. 10 students in Mitchell's Plain got bursaries to study music. After studying music, those 10 kids, you can change? She's coming here. You see, I learned quick in government, they change. I never knew that on TV. So I'm thinking these people, the esteemed people, when they go to the gym, they must do this training because the whole time. So, the Mitchell's Plain, these people got bursaries. And when they graduated, they went back to the townships in Mitchell's Plain and Kalicha and Delft. And they started to teach other kids music. They will go from from flats to flats to flats to flats to flats, getting people music, teaching people how to play music. And they will do one. Can I get a tissue, please? And they will do one instrument. And children will be away from the gangs to go and teach music. It gives me great joy that when they met me, I made sure that we speak to Betway and the department, and we said we'll match them rent for rent what they gave. They gave equipment for 1 million rand, and the department put another 1 million rand for equipment. Thank you. For equipment for the kids. Now they can teach 400 students and keep them away from crime so they can teach music. When I became the minister, I saw the list of people going to Venezuela. I said, where are the disabled people on this list? I cut the officials. I said, let's replace them with disabled, and let's have all the races here. You can't just have black people going. This country is not only black people, it's all of us. And I changed that and I removed some officials. And they went to the Venezuela fair. And the people of Venezuela came to myself and the minister, deputy minister, and they said South Africa was one of the best participants in the Venezuela book fair. So much so that the Cuban government is inviting us to be the main guest next year at the Cuban Book Festival. And it's going to be transparent. We are going to have everybody that wants to go with the government to Cuba. They must apply. So we do things a bit differently and more transparently. I have shown people that you have nothing to hide. So very soon look out for the authors that want to go and showcase in Cuba. The government will pay for this. Thank you very much. We have seen boxing. You know, the first black man to earn 100,000 in sport was Peter Terra Matebula. Peter Terra Matebula was the first black man to earn 100,000 in sport, prize money, which he had to share with the coaches. And But Peter Matebula, 40 years after Peter Matebula, boxers are earning 4,000 rands a month, a fight. 4,000 rands to get brain damage. But when you look at the officials, there's officials that fly twice a week, renting expensive cars, running up phone bills of 120,000. That we said is not going to happen. So we've appointed the acting CEO, Tsulufelo Lizaka, from my office to oversee. We have stopped all this legal. They are not in the business of boxing. The boxing SA was in the business of legal issues. They stay in court. They have lawyers on retainer. I've stopped all the legal matters. We've settled the legal matters. We are now putting boxing back to where it belongs. The advert is out. You can also apply if you have boxing expertise, and you can add to the board. It is now being advertised. Knowing how to fight is not the only requirement. You must be able to have. This one is very personal to me. I grew up with spinning. I saw what spinning does. There's no gangsters in that sport. There's no drug users in that sport, because every cent they have, they buy oil, screws, seats, tires. Tires are expensive for us spinners. And I can tell you, when I went to prison and I came out, spinning was still at the same place, unrecognized, being called a gangster sport. People that don't do spinning don't see the value of it. So much so, when I became the minister, the first priority for me was spinning. And they thought, the white people thought I'm talking about spinning top in the gym, the things they do there. And some of the super coloreds were laughing at me. Like, why is he doing this gangster sport? I can tell you, spinning, I've been to an empty rugby game, empty soccer game, empty cricket game. I've never been to empty spinning. And I said, this will be my priority. I first had to teach my staff, from the ADG through to everyone, about spinning. And I remember the deputy minister said she's got a gusheshe. I'm still waiting to see that gusheshe. and I worked very hard to formalize spinning. Spinning, I met with Motorsport South Africa. They came with their problems to me, and I said, before I listen to your problems, fix my problem. You must legalize spinning. And they assured me they will do that. I went to meet with the president of the FIA, the highest decision-making person when it comes to anything with an engine, from F1 to GP to spinning, everything. He didn't even know what spinning was. He asked me send me 2 or 3 videos. I sent him 35 videos. I think he might have blocked me after that. And I'm very proud today to say spinning is going professional. Spinners will get a salary. And the federation is even now getting sponsorship. They are going to buy cars for the children that parents can't afford, the gusheshes. So DM, you better come clean very quickly. If you have a gusheshe, if you don't, you must also apply for a vehicle to spin there. And I want to thank CLC, which became the first headline sponsor for spinning, and Kappa, which will now make sure that they are fully kitted in Kappa. So they'll treat them like they treated the Kaizer Chiefs, that team that I'm accused of supporting, which I don't. And then we had the DSTV Delicious Festival. I didn't even know what that was, but I went because the food was very delicious there. The DSTV Delicious Festival, where we honored the Miriam Makebas, the Brenda Fassis, the Yuma Sikelas, and we are forming a partnership with DSTV for the Delicious Festival. So those are the things that we've been busy with. And I'm very proud to announce the World Rally Race Championship. For the first time, it's coming to Sun City. And I want to thank Motorsport South Africa. You guys have worked so hard. You fought very hard that South Africa is now, and it's only the beginning. F1 will still be coming. I'll talk about it shortly. But already we've got one, because we went to Baku. We were fighting with the president. I said to him, but you don't bring stuff to South Africa. And I said to Motorsport, go and fight. And we were on the phone with them the whole time during the vote. Denise had to switch off her phone like, they've not even started to vote, Minister. And when they voted, she called and she said, we've got it. And I want to say to you, this event is going to be the biggest motorsport event that we've had in this country. And I said to Motorsport, I have one problem which we are working on because government is also going to contribute. I said, before I contribute 1 cent, I would like to see black women also being part of it. I would like to see white women also being part of it. I don't want the sport to be an all male, only male, even in the business fraternity. We must respect our women. They are sometimes better business people than we are. So our money will go to women in South Africa that will be part of that pie, of the advantages that will be received from hosting the World Rally Race Championship. And if you can just see a video.
In the heart of the African wilderness, where the untamed beauty of nature meets the raw power of machinery, an epic challenge awaits. The South African Safari Rally, May 2025. For the first time, the prestigious World Rally Raid Championship comes to Southern Africa. From the iconic Sun City Resort, teams will take on a journey like no other. 5 stages, over 5 days of pure adrenaline. Starting on the 18th of May and finishing on the 24th of May. It begins with a prologue in the shadow of Sun City, then dives deep into the wild, where nature itself becomes the ultimate challenge. The teams will battle through the stunning yet unforgiving landscapes of South Africa's Limpopo and Northwest provinces. Varied terrain ranging from open bushveld to river crossings and mountain ranges will test man and machine to their limits. The race will reach its climax on the 24th of May with a high adrenaline power stage designed for the ultimate display of skill and tenacity. This is not just a race, it's an adventure across one of the world's most awe-inspiring landscapes, with Africa's majestic Big Five as spectators and its rugged terrain as the ultimate test. This is the 2025 World Rally Raid Championship. This is Africa.
UFC. End of this month, we are meeting with Dana White. You know, when I saw that ground transport, it was very steep. I said to the person in the department, I said, you better get an international license because we'll have to take Ubers when we get to Abu Dhabi this month. We are going to meet with UFC to make sure that Driekus' fight come to South Africa. Just as we met with the FIA and Motorsport to make sure this is coming, it is here. So the UFC, we are meeting. So there's no thing to say it is not coming. We are going to negotiate. We've been talking to them for 3 months. They've been asking us 1 million questions. They've asked Supersport 1 million questions. And we are going to make sure that Driekus du Plessis, our champion, must fight here at home. And I will come back, hopefully with good news. And hopefully also not being asked so many questions about my trip to Abu Dhabi. Then, the F1. This is how far we are with the F1. South Africa has been to the altar twice and didn't get married. They go to F1, we want to host it. F1 is listening to them, then it falls flat. Because politicians, billionaires in this country, they started fighting, and I then became the minister. So I told the billionaires, back off. You are not the only billionaires in the world. I told the politicians, back off. I am the Minister of Sport. Let me talk with F1. I met the leadership of F1. I met the president of the FIA. I told them we would like to host the F1. They said they need certain letters within the next 30 days. Within 8 hours after my meeting with them, they received the letters that they asked me to give them within 30 days. They called me back to say, we've never seen this. We got what we needed from you within 8 hours. I said, sorry, within 10 hours. I said, no, sorry, it was 8 hours. So I want to thank my staff for getting all of that ready. What is happening now, we are meeting at the end of November. End of November, they're going to give us a list, and we need to pay certain things. There are 2 banks in South Africa that wants to get involved. There are companies that want to get involved. So the issue is not money. But where I am sitting, I look at the 2026, but more 2027 calendar. We are not the only country wanting it. Morocco wants it, Rwanda wants it, but they're very hilly, and they don't have a track yet. And big announcements are going to be made about our track very soon. So that's also coming. Then we are starting a very exciting thing. The last 3 things is Project 300. It cannot be, this is the example I always make people with my son. My son went to run, and the principal came to me when he was 10 years old. He said, Mr. McKenzie, you do know that your son is probably one of the fastest 10-year-olds in the country. I said, it can't be. He says, I'm telling you. When he was 11, he says, can you see? We timed him. I said, no, let me get him a coach. Start spending money on him, buy him treadmills, get everything. At the age of 12, we were at my family in Menenberg. And they started running with other kids in the street. An 11-year-old child, my son was 12, outran my son like my son was standing still. So people usually that goes to the Olympics, respectfully said, are like the types of my son that has the money, the equipment, and all the help. But that 11-year-old is not going. So we're starting Project 300 to make sure that we are funding every child that has a promise. We make sure they get a salary, a stipend. We make sure they get good nutrition. We make sure that they get mental help. We make sure that they get the best coaching. Because in 2028, we are taking 300 athletes to the Olympics in Los Angeles. We can't just take 100 and something. We are also busy with the music policy and strategy document. We are also busy fixing Maskandi. Maskandi is being followed by a lot of people in this country. But Maskandi is being treated, even by our own radio stations, as some music that must only be played on Heritage Day. It can't be. My yogurt was a big hit when we put him on the DSTV Delicious stage. And I can assure you that Maskandi, Guma, all the music that's not been taken serious, we have budgeted money to make sure that all different genres take their rightful place. The same with sport, Msinga, all the traditional sports. We are making sure. Next month I'm going to Limpopo to go and attend the Msinga Festival. Boxing, is that boxing? Because we didn't send one boxer to the Olympics, amateur boxer. I'm going to Msinga to go and look for amateur boxers so that we can make sure we send them to the Olympics. Hip-hop, the same. Museums are outdated in this country. Our museums are old, uninteresting, boring. It's like a graveyard. Our museums need a total upgrade. And we are working hard to infuse tech, latest technology, in our museums so that we can attract young people to come to the museums. We are also going to make sure we modernize all our museums, all the museums. Our libraries, we are also in the process of making sure that we bring tech in the libraries. Children, this thing of getting one book, coming back, That's outdated stuff. We did that 30 years ago. We are now going tech, where you go and you get an iPad, like a tablet, that's got 100 books on them. And you can also do your CV on them. You can also, and we're speaking to the cell phone companies to zero rate that they don't need data. But we make sure you can't watch porn and things that will be criticized for. The children can't watch those things. We also must be honest. South Africa love dancing. We love music. Chris Brown's music was sold out, concert was sold out in 2 hours. Our people are hungry. Our people are hungry for international acts. And don't go any further. Go to the Chris Brown concert. Our people are hungry. And so what we've done, you have Tomorrowland, you have Coachella, you have Burning Man, you have Glastonbury, but there's nothing in Africa on that level of 100,000 plus. We are introducing as the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, Africa Raw, which will happen in the Eastern Cape next year, May, where we will bring 10 international acts at one time. It will be a 3-day affair. We will have the African artists playing. We will have overseas artists playing. It will be the biggest music festival over 3 days non-stop. There's no pass out. Once you're in, you are inside. We are going to dance. We are going to stay in tents. There will be levels. There will be nice glamping for the people like Ubo Kenikunene, where they got their own shower and toilet, but you're going to have to pay. Then there's the Honke Honke Batupili, where tens of people that just went there for nice music. And then you have the people that work for government like us, that will come with our own tents that's there at the back. But we're going to have the first time, and we're going to mix it with a big five. It will be at a resort, 3 days. We already spoken to big names that wants to come. So you can listen to music, watch the lions, make sure you don't get eaten, and come back and take pictures, and that's what we're going to do. In conclusion, I would like to end with this. 100 days is not a lot of time in government, because you still have to attend parliament, you have to attend cabinet, you have to attend cabinet committees, you have to attend the portfolio committee. I was called by President Ramaphosa, and he asked me, Minister McKenzie, come see me. And I thought I'm in trouble. And he said, how are you holding up? I said, President, do you want me to give you the answer I'll give to you, or the one I'll give to my friends at home? He says, give me the one of your friends at home. I said, President, I've underestimated the workload of ministers. Number two, in 2022, I said ministers are getting paid too much money. I withdraw that with immediate effect. And I want to say to you that the GNU is the second chance that we've been given. Do not underestimate what the voters has given us as government. We work very nicely together. You know, John Steenhuisen and myself used to insult each other every election. And we're still going to insult each other. But I remember I was wearing a T-shirt and I passed one of his rallies and he said, there goes that green gangster. And we used to insult each other. Last week on Wednesday, the president was busy speaking in cabinet. He was seated next to me. And I see this man is busy under the table. And I get annoyed, like, what are you busy with? And when I put my head back, I saw he's eating biltong. And I said, and he looked at me, and he says, and he put in. And before I ate, for reasons I'm not going to mention here, I wanted him to eat first. And when he ate, I ate, and I think I finished 60% of the biltong, he took 40%. I said, hey, come Nandi to be the Minister of Agriculture. So I want to assure South Africans that the GNU is working. It is, the president went to the USA. He was oversubscribed with meetings. The deputy president went to the UK. He was oversubscribed with meetings. And to everybody that's here, we are going to make sure that South Africa becomes one of the best countries again, and we take our rightful place in. And the ones that say the GNU is not working, they are already divorced and fighting, while we are still intact. We are going to build, and I want to thank my deputy minister, I want to thank the president for finding me worthy, and this is what I've managed to do in 30 days, in 100 days, and watch our next year. We are in fire. Thank you for coming.